welcome to the Trash Picture Show. Recently, a good friend of mine, Tara Mae Jackson, reviewed the awesome John Carpenter's The Thing on her YouTube channel, which I'm going to link below. So I've decided to do a companion piece which focuses on some of the source material and also the expanded universe, be it comics or video games or action figures. First and foremost though, the Carpenter movie is essentially a remake of the Howard Hawks Tin from Another World, which came out in the 50s. While it is a classic, the Hawks movie is essentially a B-movie of the 50s, where Carpenter's movie is incredibly atmospheric, and a lot of that goes down to him using the source material. John W. Campbell's Who Goes There? Now, this book is awesome. It was very ahead of its time, having the idea of an assimilating, copying alien taking the guise of human beings, and it's not a big story or an epic story, but it is definitely interesting, and definitely, considering it came out in the 1930s, had a lot of radical ideas for the time. If you get a chance, do track it down. It does come with a couple of other stories, which include Blindness, Frictional Losses, Dead Knowledge, Elimination, Twilight, and Night. And if you are a classic sci-fi fan, it's well worth a look. Now, next up, in 2002, if I'm not mistaken, Black Label released an awesome The Thing game for both PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. The story itself centers around Blake, the leader of a commando unit and rescue team, who are sent to investigate why Outpost 31 hasn't contacted them and to find out what happened. When he gets there, he finds the camp in disarray and all trails lead to the Norwegian camp. You end up having to team up with other survivors from other search and rescue teams and have to battle things along the way. Not only is there problems with fighting the thing, but you find out your commander, Colonel Whitley, voiced by the awesome William B. Davis from the X-Files, is planning on weaponizing the thing. This game is cool. It requires team kind of orientated tactics. You, along with 3 other AI controlled characters, must traverse bases and military compounds while fighting the thing. Not only do you have to worry about being killed by the thing, but you have to worry about your own men's trust levels. Do they trust you? Can you trust them? Will they succumb to fear and kill themselves, or even worse, kill you? Also, a cool note, a character of Dr. Faraday is voiced by John Carpenter, and his likeness is also lent to this. If you get a chance, pick it up. It is a very, very difficult game, but if you can finish it, it is well worth it, and it is a cool addition to any video game collector's collection. So, The Thing game, if you're a fan of The Thing, check it out, and if you're a video game fan, well worth a look. Next up, we have Dark Horse had done a fantastic run of both the Alien and Predator franchise, so it only stood to reason that they tackled The Thing next. Now, the problem was that at the same time, Marvel had a comic book character called The Thing, Bing Grem from the Fantastic Four, so they couldn't call it The Thing, so they decided to go back and call it The Thing from Another World. The first story is essentially set a couple of hours, like the game, after the events of John Carpenter's The Thing. MacReady wakes up and can't find Childs anywhere, so he ends up tracking Childs into a blizzard and then gets lost and gets rescued, then realizes that there are still carcasses back at the base. He goes back to destroy them, only to be ambushed by a Black Ops unit who are very skeptical about MacReady's story, obviously. I'm not going to give too much away, only that it is a really, really cool story, and the covers for some of these comics are absolutely amazing. Just the artwork on them is fantastic. If you can see that, it is actually wicked, some of the artwork on it. And not only the covers are fantastic, but the interior artwork is kick ass. I don't know if you can see that there. I'll try and show you some more stuff, but Yeah, the artwork in this book is beautiful. There then was a follow-up, which sees Macready being rescued and transported to Argentina to a jungle compound where the Argentinian army have basically placed him in quarantine, and unknowns to them, somehow the Thing has made it back. Um, the artwork in the interior of this one is a bit of a step down, but it's still a cool story, and it is pretty cool to see the Thing kind of laying siege to a place that isn't so isolated. Um, some of the creature designs are pretty freaky, and it is pretty cool to see the Thing has absorbed hundreds upon hundreds of different species from all over the galaxy and is using them to their advantage. Next up, we have action figures. Now, I have a diorama for these two, but this was the Sota Toys release, which had a kennel section as well. I didn't put the kennel section here because it would probably obscure most of the camera, but this Macready action figure would face off against the dog Thing, and there was a couple of injured assimilated dogs as well, but I didn't really think there was any point in putting them in this. But fun fact, the dog Thing, unlike the other Thing practical effects, was actually done by Stan Winston, not Rob Bottin, because actually Rob Bottin suffered from exhaustion halfway through the shoot. He was working non-stop and he passed out. So John Carpenter, as a kind of as a gesture of goodwill and friendship to Bottin, came in and done the effect for the dog Thing, and it's essentially a hand puppet, and the neck would move like that, and it's simple, but it's really effective and it's really cool, and just like the tentacles and stuff were awesome. Just did ensnare and kind of simulate the dogs. The next set of figures I have are the McFlarn ones. Now these ones, I love them, but like most of the McFlarn figures, they fall to pieces easy. I think you can probably see that some of the tentacles are on the bottom of the box. They're broke. But yeah, that's the Blair monster, and I love the dog jutting out from the creature, and you Blair's face there. I've kept them boxed because I don't want to damage them, because the McFlarn figures are actually fairly expensive. So that's the Blair monster. That's the Blair creature. Next up, we have the Norris Thing, and that's when he ascends from Norris's chest, and of course that's the spider thing there. I don't know if you can see it, but that's the spider thing. It scuttles across the floor, and the lads look back and go, I think it's Palmer that goes, "You've got to be fucking kidding," and Macready roasts it. And yeah, this is an awesome figure, but again, like the McFlarn toys, there's some pieces broken off it, so it's just as well I kept it in the box. So my thoughts on John Carpenter's The Thing. It's an awesome movie. I actually saw it on kind of regular TV late one night. There was a horror marathon on, and I remember checking it out, and I stayed up and watched it. I was just like blown away by the effects. Now they haven't dated well, but they certainly are a lot better than some of the CG tosh that has come out. Speaking of that, the 2011 prequel movie, I found aspects of that pretty cool, but it kind of saddened me that a lot of the practical effects were abandoned for CG, and there was also some stuff in the deleted scenes that showed the pilot of the original ship, and its description was actually the same as the creature described in the John W. Campbell book. So I was kind of bummed out that was cut out in place of some kind of weird kind of corporeal cube. But yeah, Carpenter's movie The Thing is a classic. It's music by Ennio Morricone is fantastic. The acting from Wilford Brimley, from Kurt Russell, Richard Dysart, just brilliant acting. Whole male cast, which was a big thing at the time, just to have this kind of ensemble cast. It's a fantastic movie, and I think if they hadn't put a date on the movie, you could set it at any time. It has a very kind of isolated vibe, and I love Alien, I love Predator, but The Thing. If someone asked me who'd win in a fight, I would say The Thing. Now, maybe The Thing wouldn't be able to assimilate a xenomorph because the xeno has acid blood, but if it assimilated someone who had been face hugged and had a maturing chest burster inside, that's quite possible. That's me nerding out, apologies. But yeah, The Thing is an awesome creature. The movie is awesome, and I implore you to check out the movie, check out the expanded media such as the comics and the video game, and yeah, also check out my friend Tara Mae Jackson's channel, not just for The Thing, but her other stuff is awesome. So, my name is Martin, this has been the Trash Picture Show. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, and yeah, let's find out who's The Thing. Take care, bye now.